It's going to sound counterintuitive, but I believe this game is more important for the team that's 8-1.
Tell us why.
And that's because the Cowboys are fighting to try to make the playoffs. The Eagles are fighting to try to win a Super Bowl. So there are different levels of expectations, different levels of realistic expectations, I should say. And what we have going on in the NFL this weekend is 2 7-2 teams playing each other in the Rams and the Vikings. So one of those teams is going to be, barring a tie, 8-2. We also have the Saints as near 10-point favorites at home against Washington. So the Saints, in all likelihood, are going to be 8-2. The Eagles right now are sitting in a great position. They would have the 1 seed. They would have a bye. The bye is the thing that I find incredibly important. All of a sudden, because it's so bunched up at the top and because 2 7-2 teams are playing each other, if Philly loses this game, they are in a 3-way tie for first. One of those teams is not going to get home field throughout. One of those teams is not going to get a bye at all. And by the way, one of those teams in the first round is likely all of a sudden playing Seattle or Carolina. And that could be real quick fall from 8-1 best team in football to, oh my God, how did we become the 3 seed? So for those reasons, and because Philly is playing on a higher level and with bigger stakes than Dallas, I think this game's bigger for the Eagles because you need to keep that game separation between you and the rest of the NFC.
All right. As Coach Mangini tells you all the time, the players aren't looking ahead to the schedule. The Eagles, I have to disagree with you. No, they're not trying to win the Super Bowl. This is not an organization that has had a lot of success lately. Like, they don't know what the playoffs feels like. Carson Wentz doesn't know what it feels like to get home field advantage. They want to continue playing good football. Who's it more important for? Dallas, because Dallas has less room of error, right? Philly, they got margin of error. They got 8 wins already in the bag. They play the Rams in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 3 weeks. I mean, they play the Rams in a head-to-head. Right. All right? When you get to this point in the season, you're not thinking about home field advantage. When you have a divisional game, you know what they're probably thinking? Let's try to bury Dallas. Let's try to embarrass Dallas. Not home field advantage. Not we're trying to win a Super Bowl. When teams get like that, especially young teams, because they don't have any collective success together. And this is the same thing that people started talking about with Dallas last year when they had that great record. Oh, they're going to have home field advantage. Oh, they're going to the Super Bowl. What ended up happening? They end up losing the divisional game to the Green Bay Packers. So I have to disagree with you because this is not a team that can even look beyond this week. And for those who want to have all this empathy for Dallas, Philadelphia's got a bunch of players injured, too. Left tackle, Jason Peters, out with a torn ACL. Middle linebacker, Jordan Hicks, a really good football player, tore his Achilles. Darren Sproles, one of the best punt returners and an all-purpose back. He's out with a torn ACL and a broken arm on the same play. So everyone, the Cowboys have injuries. The Eagles have been able to overcome their injuries. This is more important for the Cowboys. If the Cowboys can steal any win, all right, why Zeke is suspended, their chance of making the playoffs really go way up.
You mentioned their margin of error. The point that I'm making is I actually think both of these teams have the same margin of error for what their current goal should be. Dallas's current goal is to make the playoffs. Philly's current goal should be the 1 seed. I know you're saying the players aren't thinking about it. But and I know that's what Coach Mangini says. But that doesn't mean when we...
But what's more important than what the players are thinking about?
Well, Cece, when the players also aren't thinking about who's got more to win or lose here. Like, what I'm talking about is when we're analyzing the team. I'm not saying this affects how the players approach the game. I'm saying when we're analyzing the team, Philly and Dallas, because right now they are playing it almost 2 different games. Dallas is playing the scratch your way into the playoffs game and see what happens. Philly's playing the put yourself in the best possible position to make a Super Bowl. Like, I focus so much on teams, whether or not they can get a bye or not, just because it's so drastic. Since they expanded the playoffs in 1990, teams with a bye make the Super Bowl nearly 40% of the time, and teams without a bye make the Super Bowl less than 4% of the time. Like that, and Philly right now, They are, even if the players aren't, the goal here is make the damn Super Bowl. You're 8-1 with maybe the MVP.
There is a point where the players will have the ability to think about home field advantage, but it's not that time yet. All right? There's too many teams bunched at the top. It can flip in 2 weeks. Yeah. Just like Kansas City. What did Kansas City have? 5 bad days? Yeah. 5 bad days turned their season around, didn't it?
Yeah, turned in the wrong direction. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So there's so much to be done. So many things can happen, so many injuries. It's important that Doug Peterson let these guys know this is an opportunity. This is one of our rivals. This is another game up in our division, all right? Because the number one goal is not home field advantage. Number one goal is win your division. Then once you win your division, then these other goals come after that. Man, can we get a home game? Man, can we get a bye week? You can't put that before winning the division, getting a bye week, and that you can't put those in front of.
So let's focus on this game. How did the Eagles lose this game? And I know you said both teams have injuries, but the injuries on the Cowboys side are a lot deeper and a lot more drastic. Tyron Smith alone, Eagles are the only team in the NFC, 4 different defensive linemen with 3 or more sacks. Well, they've got their work cut out for them. They're rested. I think they're in a little bit of better shape to go into this game.
I don't know if listen, both teams have lost their all-pro, perennial Pro Bowl left tackle. The difference is, I don't know.
They're the 1 and 2 probably best left tackles, Joe Thomas. In that threesome, those are the best left tackles in the business.
So I don't know if the Cowboys' injuries are more drastic or just the Eagles have dealt with their injuries better, are better positioned to deal with their injuries, and maybe have better overall depth of their roster. When people say, how did the Cowboys win this game, I would point to the fact that this is, like Cece said, a divisional game. It is in Dallas, and Vegas says it's a 3.5-point game. Like, this is a game that should be a competitive football game. But quickly for me, how they win it is they do not try to do what they did last week, which is pretend they have their full complement of players. You have to adjust your game plan knowing you don't have Sean Lee, so you're going to have to play slightly different type of defense, and you don't have Tyron Smith, let alone you don't have your all-world running back.
Listen, you got to get after the quarterback. They got to blitz Carson Wentz. They got to force the issue. They got to try to force the tempo of the game from a defensive standpoint, play man-to-man. Because Dallas, what do they have to lose? They lose the game, they're 5-5. But if they're able to steal a win, and the only way I believe they're going to be able to steal a win is by stealing extra possessions. Dak needs help. Dak needs the defense to create 3 turnovers. Also, they got to run the ball 32 times. I don't care how many yards they average. Don't come back on Monday talking about, man, they average 3.7.8 decimal point per carry. No, they need the attempts, because what that does is I want the defense to speed up the game, but I need Dallas's offense. I need them to play Bill Parcells. We're going to slow down the game. We're running plays within 5 seconds on the play clock. I'm looking at the play clock. Yeah. 7, 6, 5. Make them adjustments. I'm not snapping that thing till 3 seconds, because that is the way that you're able to shorten the game from an offensive standpoint. But let's be physical. That offensive line of Atlanta, people concentrate on the left tackle, but that whole offensive line got dominated and got embarrassed.
The same conversation with my 4-year-old and my 2-year-old. They're like, look at that offensive line. You never stare at that offensive line.
To me, it should start with cadence variation, so there should be some hard count and some quick count so that the defensive line, the Eagles' defensive line, can't get a beat on when the ball's going to be snapped. The second thing I think they should do is run no huddle, okay, but not hurry up. No huddle. So that means they're giving the illusion that they're going fast.
Sugar huddle.
But they're taking the whole clock. Because they still want long, sustained drives. What the Eagles want to do, they've got 7 guys with 250 defensive snaps. Okay, 7 of their defensive linemen.
Right.
They want to rotate those guys through. So if you're in a no huddle situation, they can't get those guys in. And if they want to get them in, then you hurry up, you snap the ball, and you catch them with 12 men on the field and make them pay for the substitutions. Okay, that's the second thing. And then defensively, they've got to do a better job setting the edge in the running game, which means force the Eagles to run inside. It was a problem last week for Dallas. And then the last thing is they've got to disrupt the timing in the passing game. They can't give these quick, easy completions. Dallas's defensive line will get there if the ball's not out quick every single play. So get up, press them a little bit. Maybe it's some cover 2, maybe it's some press man, but the timing's got to be disrupted. They do those things, they've got as good a chance as anybody to beat the Eagles this weekend.
I know for every team in the league, when you're game planning against your opponent, you're telling your defense, we got to hold them to 3 in the red zone. We got to get off the field on 3rd down, right? Those are very often individual weeks keys to a game.
Those are universal.
That's what I'm saying. Everyone wants to do that every week.
You can't win the NFL giving up touchdowns and not getting off the field.
You also want
down.
turnovers. That's another big one that you talk about.
Correct. The reason I bring it up is that is where the Eagles have made their money this year. Carson Wentz has been the best quarterback in the league on third down. Mm-hmm. He's been the second best quarterback in the league in the red zone. Like, that's where you want to do that against everyone. One of the reasons the Eagles have the best record in football, in addition to all the things they do defensively, the way they can rotate in those defensive linemen, they're great. They're now two very good running backs, is because in the highest leverage situations that you have, third down where you might have to punt, or in the red zone where it's 3 points or 7 points, that's where their potential MVP quarterback has been his best. So while everyone wants to do that, the Cowboys almost have to do that this weekend to have a shot because they're undermanned offensively, and it's the toughest team in the league to do that against.
The Cowboys got to score some points. So for me, how are they going to be able to score points against this Eagles defense? Coach mentions are very good because Jim Schwartz, he's the defensive coordinator. That's his defensive style. They do have a 7-man rotation. They're rotating 7 guys through 4 spots. What Coach is mentioning, though, as far as going no huddle, you can go no huddle out of one formation. The offense, as long as the offense stays in that formation, the defense, you don't have to let them substitute. So what he's trying to say is, let's stay in one formation. And for me, it would be either 2 tight ends or a tight end and a fullback, because we know we have a weakness at the left tackle. So you can run no huddle or a hurry-up offense to take away one of the strengths of Philadelphia, and that is their 7-man rotation and Jim Schwartz, what they want to do. Dallas, from a defensive perspective, they have to be able to get Dak extra possessions, all right, because Philadelphia's averaging 31 points. Dallas is going to have to get to 28. Got to hold Philadelphia under their average. So how are they going to get there? If they can create those 3 extra possessions, slow down the game, I said they must run the ball 32 times. If there's going to be 60 plays in the game, 32 runs, that's 28 passes. Dak, when he passes the ball between 25 and 35 times, that's when the Cowboys are the most successful. So it's not going to be an easy task. Right now, the Eagles are the best team in football. This is a rivalry game, so don't expect Philadelphia to come in feeling sorry, like every time we do the Dallas report, oh, Dallas is missing this guy. Well, what about New England? What about the guys they're missing? Kansas City's missing players. Philadelphia's missing their left tackle, their middle linebacker.
Those other 2 teams have been much better at bouncing back and working around and adjusting. The Cowboys were not nearly as good as dealing with the injuries.
Yeah, Jenna, you know something? Guess what? I don't care. That's the Cowboys' fault. Like, they got to make adjustments. Like, their coaches.
So that's why I think
the coaches have to help out the players, because every team has injuries. So us trying to make a big deal about one team's injuries compared to another team, when Philadelphia has the same thing, their middle linebacker's out for the season, not out for a couple weeks. Their left tackle is out for the season, not out for a couple weeks like Tyron Smith. All right, so the Eagles have just as much adjustment to make in running their team, and they've been successful at doing it compared to what Dallas is doing.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.